So it's been interesting, right, to watch the national media in the last few weeks because they started at the end of the offseason and through the Browns hires and their firing saga, just trashing the Browns, saying they're not going to be good, that they're all hype, that we were stupid to believe in the hype in the first place. And they pretty much held that line up until a few weeks ago, and now they're really starting to flip-flop on the Cleveland Browns, specifically after the draft. Some people for legitimate reasons. Some people I question why they're doing it. But if you don't believe me, here's a clip from Colin Cowherd. The first part of it's going to be from how he was talking in late March after free agency, just before the draft. And then we're going to cut to a clip in the middle of this from a few weeks ago.
But when you look at the talented rosters in the NFL, and I say to myself, I think Cleveland's like 6 or 7, but they're the only one I think they're not going to win. They're just, I don't know what to do with them. They're not going to win. Another team, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons kept their coach. So now they'll have the same offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, playbook, head coach, quarterback, general manager. So I think both Atlanta and the Jets could have easily fired their coach. But they were patient. And my point is, in any business, give promising employees another year. Keep them for another year. It's much better to be patient and wrong than what can really be a catastrophe, impatient and wrong, in Cleveland's case. So now, not only do you get the wrong coach, but you have created a sense that you won't give anybody 2 real years.
4 to 6 weeks later.
I think Cleveland ends up finishing second in the division and is one of the most improved teams, at least from an organizational standpoint in the NFL. Now, I think my playoff teams, Buffalo. So Buffalo, Indy, Kansas City, Baltimore for sure. Then Denver for sure makes it 5. I've got 2 more. It would be Jets and Tennessee. No, Jets and Cleveland. Yeah, that's my playoff team.
Now, there's a lot to unpack there. I know people who defend Colin Cowherd in the comment section are going to say, well, it's the draft that changed his mind. That's what made him change his mind. But remember, the criticism in the first clip wasn't because the Browns had a bad roster. He thought the Browns had the 7th best roster in the NFL. He blamed it on management. He said this situation going on that we all are aware of, that's going to be the reason the Browns won't be successful. They're going to underwhelm. They're going to be bad again because they have bad management. They didn't keep Freddie Kitchens, who he's been on the campaign to fire Freddie Kitchens, but they didn't keep continuity. They weren't patient enough, and they made a bad decision, and it's even worse now with this whole situation. And then a few weeks ago, he flip-flopped. Now, that makes no sense to me, right? Because what happened in that time period? The situation hasn't changed. We're all under quarantine still. The team roster really hasn't changed, and it's not like that was his biggest setback with the Browns. Nothing's changed with the coaching staff or the GM. All those hires were made when he made the first video. So why has he changed his mind? And it's even weirder because he's not the only one. If you have been following the Browns for more than a year, if you've been following them for a long time, you would know that there's another person, another prominent media figure who has been on this anti-Browns, but I would say on the pump the brakes on the Browns kind of bandwagon, along with Colin Cowherd. And that is Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has consistently been the guy saying the Browns are overhyped. Even after this season, even after free agency, he's maintained that line. But then this happened.
Now, that's one team. The other team I got to give some love to, at least in the offseason, and they tend to accumulate it in the offseason as opposed to during the season, is the Cleveland Browns. If you're Baker Mayfield, what do you got here? You got a tight end, you got Hooper, you got a right tackle, you got a fullback in play. Clearly, with Stefanski as the new coach coming over from Minnesota, he likes multiple tight end sets. He wants to sit up there and do all of that, and plus having a slew of running backs to lean on as well. I think those kind of situations, considering that you still kept a Landry or Odell Beckham Jr. in tow, I look at it from the standpoint that Cleveland had a pretty good offseason offensively. Defensively, that's a different argument for another day. But offensively, in terms of of helping out Baker Mayfield, I think they did a plus, and I definitely think it was a plus for Tom Brady to end up in Tampa for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Golly, man. Jeez, I'm glad I got a little something left. It's the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, Marcus, that's why they don't give you screen time. But anyways, that's notable, right? Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, the two loudest voices in telling the whole world that the Browns are overhyped, even after 2018 and 2019, suddenly flip-flopped with no explanation. That's weird, right? That is extremely weird. And Colin Cowherd's makes even less sense, if I can jump back to that one, because he said the Browns organization is going to be why they're going to be successful. They're going to impress a lot of people. But again, a month ago, he was saying that the organization's why they're going to stink. Sounds a little hypocritical there. And then Stephen A. Smith along those same lines, but then he's touting the roster. But Stephen A. has also been one of the guys saying the roster's great, but he doesn't trust the organization. And now all of a sudden, he's flip-flopped on those positions. Interesting. Why have the people who have been the loudest in the opposite direction now suddenly so sure in this coaching staff and this organization that they flip-flopped without any games being played, any practices being held, barely any press conferences? Why is this happening? Now, was this a genuine change at heart? Did somebody finally get to them and explain to them why, these things might be different and show some film breakdowns? They did some real research? No. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think they had a legitimate change of heart. I think that's unlikely. It could happen, but, I think that's unlikely. I don't think that's why they changed their stance. Also, could this be that they're hedging their bet? Absolutely could be that. I think that's definitely a factor in this. I mean, like Stephen A. Smith does this routinely. He'll say something outlandish in one direction, take it back a little bit, say that, and then go in the other direction, keep going back. So whenever one of the 18 things he predicted happens, he can go back. I said that in March that this is going to happen. This is kind of what he does. Colin Cowherd does this very similarly. He will take a range of takes, even though all those takes don't really make a lot of sense when you compare them against each other back to back. He will take a range of takes and say them throughout the year so that when it comes time to pay the check, he can say he was right? All that talking he did about Baker Mayfield after he went number one in the 2018 draft, Baker Mayfield breaks the rookie touchdown record. Somehow Colin Cowherd found a way to have a take in there some way that he can claim that he was right. This is his game. We know this. This is just a game of sports talk radio, right? But with Colin Cowherd specifically, I think something else a little bit more interesting is happening. And this might also trickle down to Stephen A. But last year, the Browns were willing to play that game with Colin Cowherd, right? People would interact. Odell Beckham was tweeting at him. Jarvis was tweeting at him. Baker Mayfield was tweeting at him back and forth. They were playing that game with each other, that tug of war. Baker Mayfield felt like he needed to do that to kind of get some motivation. I kind of covered that in my last video. But the Browns aren't playing that game with him. Odell's not tweeting at anybody anymore. He's tweeting at his own teammates at best. Baker Mayfield's really not doing those things that he did last year. He's not feeding into the frenzy. He's not trying to get all this stirring again like he did last season. And I think that's why Colin's backed off of Cleveland here for a little bit. Now, if the Browns come back to relevance and they start off hot, he's going to have a million hot takes, and he's going to try to poke the skin of Baker Mayfield to get him to react. And because that's just kind of what Colin does. He's a troll. We know this at this point. But it's just so interesting because I guarantee you Colin Cowherd wants so badly for Baker Mayfield to poke back so he can have something to talk about, so he can have something, and Baker won't give it to him. So he has to retreat. So he has to go back. So he has to be kind to the Browns. So he has to say nice things about the Browns so people will start to pay attention, because I think his whole strategy, right, if you listen to him, he'll say bad things and defamatory things about the city of Cleveland. So we will syndicate his show in Cleveland, and so we'll carry him so he can become a polarizing figure in the city, so people will listen to him more and help his bottom line. But what I've noticed with me personally and with a lot of other people in Cleveland is that we just kind of tuned him out at this point. We just don't want to hear from Colin Cowherd. It's not important anymore. So why care what he has to say? And I promise you that, combined with Baker Mayfield not poking back, the city of Cleveland not really reacting to him anymore and giving him that gas has kind of put him in a situation where he has to be nice in order to get us to listen to him again. It's actually quite hilarious and funny to watch. And honestly, it's going to be even funnier during the season. But to all of those people who are worried about the Browns not getting that negative motivation coming into the season, don't worry. It'll come back. It's one Odell quote or fake trade rumor away from happening, right? Let one player say during training camp that they think their team's going to be good, have the audacity to have some confidence in their team. It'll all come back. They'll start finger wagging about how confident they haven't done nothing else. All those stupid takes will come back, and Marcus Spears will be back on TV talking about how Daniel Jones is better than Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he still ain't carried a receipt for that one. But that's my thoughts on the media kind of taking a flip-flop approach to the Browns and what I'm making out of it. I don't think this is a scheme for them to build the Browns up so they could tear them down again like last year kind of was. I just think this is more or less the Browns fans and the players just not reacting to the hot takes anymore and becoming immune to them, that they have to move on and have a more kind of softer approach with the Browns in order for us to care about them. But that's just my thoughts about this whole situation. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think the media is genuine with their praise of the Brown, or do you think that this has more nefarious reasonings behind it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you can be notified. And as always, have a great day and have a good night.